right, I know that pots, pigs, chests, and jewels are all just perceived progression on slot machines. So why do I continue to choose slots that have these full? Let's talk about it. Thank you so much for checking out the video today. If it's the first time to my channel, I talk all about how to sail for less aboard the world's biggest cruise lines by using casino comps. So I got tips and tricks on how to get these comps and how to spend less getting them. This video today is going to talk about all those graphics that you see on today's new age machines. So they could be a pot or a chest or jewels, or they could be pigs. There's a bunch of different ones. They're basically indicators, and what they're meant to do is entice people into playing that slot because it gives the notion that a bonus is about to trigger. These are appearing on more and more machines. It's very rare nowadays that a new machine will come out that doesn't have some sort of graphic that tries to entice you to play with a bar that's almost full or one of these other things that I talked about, a cracked sweating pig, all sorts of different things. One of the number one comments I get when I do any videos and I talk about my tips and tricks is people tend to get irritated with me because I tell people I play machines that have a full pot, a bursting pig, the jewels are full, like all of those things. Those are the machines I choose to sit and play at. They always come back and say, oh, that's just perceived progression and those graphics actually don't indicate anything. And technically and logically, I absolutely agree. Slot machines in their, most essential form are just random number generators. When you press the button, the result is already determined the second that you press it. Your award is going to be a certain amount. It's going to be a certain times your bet or, less or nothing. And that's as soon as you press that button. Everything that happens after this, after you've pressed the button, is just kind of for entertainment and for your show. So, triggering a bonus or, getting really close to something or having a really great line hit, that's all just to make it more exciting and more fun to play. Really isn't indicative of anything. So yeah, people seem to get really upset when I say play these machines that have full chest and whatnot. They say I'm a sucker. They kind of get mad. And I find it kind of funny because I do have a very cogent, solid theory on why I think you should play these machines. Let's talk really quickly about volatility. That's the one thing that I also kind of preach, trying to find lower volatility machines. So basically, a machine's return to player is not the same as its volatility. Return to player is how much over millions of spins that the machine should return to the player. So if it's set at 88%, then for every dollar that a person puts into the machine over time, the machine will give back 88 cents. Volatility is a bit different. So for a low volatility machine, that machine is going to continually pay back the person who's playing a little bit more often, and it's not going to have a lot of dry spells, and it's probably less likely to have a really high payout. So if you're thinking about a graph and the line across is the return to player, a lower volatility machine is going to kind of like stick a little bit closer to that line. Now, of course, again, it's all random. It's a random number generator. So there could be spells where it pays out quite a bit. There could be spells where it goes completely dry. That is the essential nature of randomness. A higher volatility machine is a lot more likely to deviate from that return to player line on a graph. So you could see it go quite a bit down and then spike quite a bit up. And that is not great for somebody who's got a low budget like you or I, if you're somebody who wants to budget gamble like me, because you're very likely to hit one of those low swings. So if you've got, let's say, a budget of $100 a day and you're playing a very high volatility machine, that machine could very quickly eat up your $100 budget. That's why I try to recommend the games that I believe to be lower volatility. And one thing you need to know is that newer machines today are all higher volatility. We're starting to see the kind of erasure of lower volatility machines in casinos. Those will tend to be like your old 3-reel style games. Those tend to be lower volatility. Games without a bunch of bonus features and without a high jackpot, those will probably be lower volatility as well, because they want to return to player and they don't have those big payouts to get back to where they need to be. So they're going to more likely pay you out more often. My problem is I don't find those games fun. And a big reason why I gamble is for the entertainment of it. Of course, I want to get on more cruise ships, but I also want to have fun when I'm gambling as well. So I do tend to gravitate to games that are more fun to play, which are naturally higher volatility, but I'm trying to find the ones on the lower end of that. Okay, so let's go back to perceived progression graphics. Again, I will say it is technically correct. Those full pots or full pigs do not indicate that a bonus is coming right around the corner. It's a random number generator, so anything could happen. You could have a session where you don't pop them. I've had it. I'm sure you've had it as well. So even though these graphics do not predict a bonus, as every spin is unique and random, I want you to think about something. Why do you think casinos don't mess around with the RTP percentage? That's a myth that a lot of people say. They say, oh, on day one, casino or cruise ship will set their RTP really high to entice people to play more, and then on the last day they'll screw you. Or there's all sorts. People say it happens at certain times of day. I can tell you very confidently that all of the cruise lines, the major cruise lines that cruise the United States, follow the gaming standards of the Nevada Gaming Commission, and that is not allowed. Additionally, return to player is only adjustable within a certain parameter within the machine software. It's only a couple or a few percent. And in order to do it, you have to actually go into the machine. It takes time. It's not something that happens often. And the reason it isn't is because casinos don't need to do that. You think about 1 million spins and you think about like an 88% return to player. That is 12% going to the house every 1 million spins. They are making money hand over fist on these machines. They do not need to mess with them. Why is this all true? Well, the reason that machines are successful as random number generators is because of a very important scientific law, and that is the law of averages. Even though there can and will be diversion from the norm and the return to player, let's say again, 88%, there will be diversions high or low. Over time, it is a guarantee through the law of averages that that number will return to the mean or get close to that number. That is something that is just, as much as we know the sky is blue and water, is wet, that is just a law that exists and is true. So the law of averages is the founding principle of casino success. It's something they can take to the bank, and they do every single month. So here's my second question. If you have two identical machines, let's say dancing drums, one of those machines has a full pot. The one right beside it has an empty pot. Which one of those machines has more recently triggered a bonus? You know that the machine that has got an empty pot has more recently triggered a bonus than the one with a full pot. So does that mean the machine with the full pot is going to trigger before the one with the empty pot? No, it's a random number generator. The one with an empty pot could trigger 4 times before the one with the full pot does. However, using the law of averages and keeping this as a strategy that you do all of the time does give you a small advantage when playing these machines. If you're always going to machines that have not triggered a bonus in a while, you are increasing the likelihood that through the law of averages, you are going to trigger more bonuses on those full machines than you are on the empty ones. People can argue this all they want, but it's a fact. Now, obviously, the thing that's the downside of this is that most of these principles are built off of millions of spins. This is not something that's like 100 spins or something like that. So, you could go through a long stretch where you're playing these full machines, they never trigger, somebody sits down beside an empty machine, triggers a bonus, you could feel a certain way about it. But this is one of the things that you can add to your arsenal of play that can give you a slight advantage over time, and it can pay off. There's a lot you don't know about a slot machine. One that has a full pot, maybe it triggered the grand recently and a major before that. Maybe, it's really above what it should be paying out. And using the law of averages, it's got to get back down, or it will get back down to the return to player. So you can predict that one will probably not pay out quite as much. So that is the one area where you just don't know. You don't know what a slot machine's history has been. But again, like I've said, using this strategy every time you sit on a machine, you are giving yourself a slight advantage over time. And what you don't know is what you don't know. You can only work with what you do know. So another thing that I want to kind of pair with this is the fact that not all these machines are created equally. You've probably seen it yourself. You've noticed that certain machines may trigger the bonus quicker when they're full than other machines. You may have also noticed that some slots tend to fill those indicators up really quickly and then just sit there forever. So those ones are probably a little less reliable because, if you've got, let's say you got machine A, it's got a pot and it takes, 10 spins, 20 spins to fill that pot up to the point where it's looks full. Then you have another machine that takes 50 or 100 or more spins to get up to that full appearance. You kind of know that that's a better indicator over time. You also know the machines that when you sit at them and they're full, they tend to pop a little bit quicker. You're not sitting there, putting, $100 or more dollars into it to try to pop. I mean, I'm talking about as an average, right? Every individual session is random. So you can only kind of take your experience as you play more and more machines. So for me, I've got, machines that I kind of really vibe towards a little bit more when it comes to fullness of pots or whatever that perceived progression is. And then there's machines that I don't really take too much into account, although I still do play those ones when they're full. Maybe superstition, or maybe if I decide to play those machines at all, because those ones I find are usually a lot higher volatility. So for me, 3 machines that I think trigger fairly frequently after whatever the indicators are to get full would be dancing drums, 88 fortunes in all of those variants, and Lion Link. Lion Link's the one that can either have, I think it's got a rooster and it might have a lion. I guess that's why it's Lion Link. And it has the jewels and then the big pearls. And when I think there's 5 pearls and the bird has one of the pearls in its hand, that's when it's kind of at its fullest image before it pops. I have found, through my experience, that once it gets to that point, I don't generally have too much trouble popping those. The one thing with Lion Link though is that the bonuses are often pretty low. You might get $12, you might get $20. I've had some really good ones though. I've had a full screen of wilds before. So I think I had a $400 line hit on an 88-cent bet on Lion Link once. So I do like those. And again, like I said, the dancing drums and the 88 fortunes, those are ones I think tend to pop a little bit quicker. I would also say press your luck, although I have had sessions where that pig will crack and just sit there forever. Again, that might just be recency bias speaking for me. Machines that I do not trust are ones like Mo Mummy, especially the added bonus Mo Mummy. So like the Mo Mummy, the one with the ghost, that kind of one. But even the base Mo Mummy, I find that the jewel piles grow fairly quickly and you could be playing a long time before you trigger. The one thing I will say about Mo Mummy is that the bonus, especially the green jewel bonus, the collect cash bonus, can be very lucrative. So I do sit and play that game from time to time, also because it's just a lot of fun. But for me, I'm less kind of enticed by the jewel piles because I don't think they factor in quite as much. Another one I don't think you should bother with is Monopoly Railroad. That thing, those pots are full forever. And I've had so many bad bonuses after pumping like $100 into those machines. I just don't even bother with them anymore. They're terrible as far as I'm concerned. And then the other one I don't think that you should really bother too much with is any of the Buffalo games that have indicators. I just think, especially the one, I'm not sure what it's called, but it's got the big green bonus bar at the bottom. That thing fills up to the end so quickly, and then it just sits there forever. And then you've got the ones with the 3 pots. And I say this almost every video, Buffalo games are terrible. If you're looking to save bankroll, stretch your bankroll, if you've got a small budget, I don't think you should ever play Buffalo. I play them because they're fun. I do enjoy them. I have some nostalgia with them, but like logically speaking, you should not play them. So to summarize, a full pot, a full chest, a bursting pig, not a guarantee of success. I do think, however, it is a small part of a larger strategy that I've used quite successfully in order to cruise for a lot less, getting comped cruises, free play, and a bunch of other cool stuff. I've been on over 20 Royal Caribbean cruises and over 10 cruises on other lines, all with no fare paid and all via casino comps. My average daily loss on Royal Caribbean is $50 a day. So I'm getting great value and I must be doing something right. Part of it obviously is luck, but the longer I have success with this methodology, the more it indicates that I'm doing some things right. And here's something else. What if I'm wrong about this? What if I am totally wrong about this? What is the harm if it's just random and you can sit at any machine and it doesn't matter like some of these people say? What is the harm in me only playing full machines? Using their logic, there's no harm. So what is the risk in actually trying this? There's no risk whatsoever. And another thing to consider is at the end of the day, this should be fun for you. This should be entertainment. If I'm on a cruise, I'm going to be playing in the casino anyway. So why not leverage that casino play in order to get comps, have a good time, do the things that make you happy, play the games that you like. Something to think about. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you'll join me on the next one. Please like this video if you found it valuable and subscribe to my channel.